Hey everyone, I'm here with Anna Krueger, who is the MAPS coach.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we want to go with?
Yep, one of many.
One of many titles.
I'm all about coaching, developing. I'm passionate about training. And so pretty much all my careers have been centered, or all the different positions in my career have been centered around that. And I've landed on real estate coaching and training. And I'm passionate about it because it's a fun industry. I love the personalities of people that work in real estate. They're go-getters. And it's a lot of fun to coach and train and see the impact of that. It's not just training, one person. If they're trained, then they can go out and help families, and then their own families improved. And I love the ripple effect of it all.
Absolutely. So let's just talk. I mean, you kind of like stumbled into real estate, right? You want to kind of give the quick 101 or download on that?
Yeah, so it's a really, really crazy story. So I was working as a teacher and then a college recruiter, and I was horrible at sales, like really bad at it. And after about 3 months, I figured out a few things through language patterns and different ways of approaching sales. And I ended up doing really well. So I started a training department for the college. They didn't have one, and I started a training department for them.
For their sales department.
For their sales department. So
for
I went from
never did sales.
Yeah, my first 3 months were horrible. Then the next 9 months, I killed it. And on my 1 year anniversary, actually on the date, the regional director approached me and said, "Hey, would you start a training department and help everybody else figure out what you're doing?" So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I worked for them for 8 years, and then I met Haro at my church. And
Haro is?
Oh, Haro, yeah, I guess you need to know who that is. Haro owns a real estate team in Greenville, South Carolina, which is about 2 hours from where we are right now. And that's where I live. And
that's where I'm from.
Oh, yeah, look at that. And an awesome team down there.
A KW team.
A KW team, yep. And when I started, I was employee number 7. There's over 30 of them now. They're killing it.
Really?
Doing a great job, yeah. And we met at church, and I was babysitting his daughter one day. I don't know if Haro knows this, actually. I was babysitting his daughter one day. She was like 5. And she whispers to me, "You're going to work for Mr. Haro someday, just so you know." And I was like, "Really?" All right. Anyway, Haro started recruiting me and offered me a job. And I was really unsure about it, just because of all the risk, and I was used to a salary, and this
8-year,
was scary.
10-year, comfortable. And yeah, absolutely.
So I ended up, and this isn't really repeatable. I don't know that people could go out and repeat this, but I just prayed. I was like, "God, if you want me to work for Haro, you're going to have to lay me off my job, because I just can't decide." And I kid you not, I had worked for that company 8 years. They let me work from home and made all these exceptions for me.
They let you move too,
They let me move.
Yeah.
They didn't usually let people do that. And 4 hours after I prayed that I would get laid off my job, I got a call that I was laid off. It was ridiculous. So fortunately, I had an offer letter in my drawer, so I pulled it out, called Haro, and I started the next day. Yep.
Look at that.
So that's how it happened. And I'm so thankful. It was the best thing that could have ever happened.
Oh my gosh.
Really awesome.
So you landed at a KW team in Greenville, South Carolina with Haro.
Yeah.
And you were doing what?
Inside sales.
So you were an ISA.
Yeah. When I first started, I did his operations manual, which is really hilarious now that I understand my wiring better. Like, what was I doing admin stuff?
Yeah.
But again, it was so last minute. That's what he needed the next day. But ultimately, I started doing inside sales, which, if you don't know what that means, I was the person that nurtured leads. So let's say Rivers comes in on our BoomTown website. I'll call him up within 5 minutes, ideally, and just say, "Hey, what brought you to the website? What are you looking for? What has you thinking about moving?" And then work with him until he was actually ready to come in. So calling expireds as well for sale by owners. I used to joke around, it was like being the bouncer for the team. So nobody.
That's a great way to put it. I've never heard anybody say that.
Nobody got in. I would ask you 1,000 questions to make sure you were actually serious and protect the agent's time and.
So you are the gatekeeper, right? You're the key master, right? It's like nobody can get to the agent,
right?
And that's basically the ISA model, right?
Yeah.
So that's been on the rise for the last 5 to 7 years or so, and but you kind of took it to another level, right? So then your story has a BoomTown element, right? With Unite, right? So we have our conference Unite every year, and you got put on the calendar as a session to talk about ISAs, right? So how'd that go down?
Well, and actually even the first year, Haro just took me with him and said, you're coming to this conference with me. And I noticed anytime I was anywhere and I said that I was an ISA, it was like everyone around me stopped and looked at me and was like, wait, I have questions for you. So I had about 10 people say, can I talk to you next week and ask you questions? And I didn't have time because I was lead generating. So I don't have time to talk to 10 people.
This is after the Unite
This is after the Unite.
And you gave a presentation on like what it is to be an ISA.
Well, not the first year.
Oh, okay.
The second year I did.
Gotcha.
The first year was really where it started.
You're just there.
Because nobody knew me, and I sat in that crowd and I thought, I want to be on stage one day. I love this, and I want to talk to people about this ISA stuff. So I started a Facebook group that first year for the 10 people that asked for help, and that really launched things for me. So I really attribute it to that BoomTown conference. So
awesome.
That started the Facebook group, and I said, I will talk to you on Mondays for a half hour. Here's a group call, and if you really want to have your questions answered, be on the call, because that's it.
That's all you got.
That's when I'll give you time.
That's your time block for the week.
And that more and more people joined that. There's over 1,000 people in the group now, and it gave it. Yeah.
You still doing it?
I don't do that anymore because I'm so busy actually doing the coaching now.
Yeah.
But it's really active. Like there's questions going on in there. ISA mastermind group. Anybody can join. That's in real estate. And anyway, out of that became like people started to know more about me and that I loved training. And then the next year I spoke at BoomTown. Right. And then the second year I spoke again. Yeah. And I loved it. That was awesome.
So come to Unite. Good things happen.
Yes.
You meet good people. Things happen when you put yourself out there, right?
Yeah. It's who are you around, and people that are at that conference are there because they have a growth mindset. Yeah. So it's like you take your world and you make it small with people that are going somewhere. Or they wouldn't even be there. All
right, so you did Unite, you were doing, kind of became known as the ISA coach, right? I mean, I think your email address is the ISA coach or something like that,
it has
right?
ISA in there.
Something
one of
like
those.
that.
Yeah.
So then you ended up working with Tim Heyl, who's based out of Austin, another big KW expansion guy, and how did that come about?
Well, I made my mission when I was an ISA. I wasn't sure what my path would look like. And I noticed there was no training for that role. So my mission became to master the role so that I could train it. I knew I had to master it if I was ever gonna actually train it.
Right.
So I went to MAPS Coaching, which is the coaching company of Keller Williams. Right. And I just said, hey, what do I have to do to be a coach? I wanna develop a training program for this. And they said, well, you should talk to Tim Heyl because he's talked about that as well. Well, I joke because it's a lead generation program, right?
Right.
ISA coaching. And I joke that I lead generated Tim because we must have texted or left messages for each other forever. And finally, we were at a conference together, and I literally chased him down the hallway. He was like in this crowd of people, and I chased him down.
He's like, there's a crazy person behind me.
Yes, and I was like, I'm Anna Krueger. I'm the one that's been texting you, and we've got to talk. So anyway, I literally chased him down, and we got on the phone very shortly after that conference, and that, like cool. 3 or 4 months later, we started the program.
So this is what, not too long ago?
No, that was, not even. That was in October, I think, of 2015.
So, I mean, it's kind of strange that people have been talking about ISAs forever, or lead coordinators, or whatever client concierge, whatever you want to call it, and there was no formal anything, especially with Keller Williams, where it was like kind of born out of, right?
Right. I think it's so because I think people just give up so easily, and let's be real, like it's not the easiest role. You have to have a lot of tenacity. You've got to know how to convert leads. And so I think a lot of people, and I don't have data on this, I just think a lot of people probably didn't stay in the role long enough to master it and figure it out. And there are people out there that do it at a high level and they love it. I coach several ISAs that are like, why would I ever want to be an agent? You know, they're just like, I love this.
And they make a good living?
They make a great living.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know several that make plenty of money for what they need.
More than your average agent, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I know of 2 off the top of my head that are making 6 figures.
Really?
They've been in the role for a while. It takes a little time to get there.
Sure.
but they work normal hours. They don't have the same stress as that an agent does. And so I think it just depends on how you're wired.
Yeah.
And especially in that ISA role, you've got to just be patient, which is hard for us salespeople. I mean, it really is.
That's true.
You got to be patient because all that work you do. I think of Tim, his first year, he called FSBOs expired in Circle.
Yep.
And his first year, out of that group, he added 1,250 names to his database.
Yep.
He closed 9 of them. Like, if I added 1,250 names to my database and closed 9 of them in a year, I'd probably think to myself, this isn't working.
This isn't for me.
Well, his second year, out of that same 1,250, he closed 54.
Right.
So you got to find the person that sees the vision and will be patient.
Stay the long course, the long play.
Right.
Oh, that's great. So what is the difference then between that ISA profile and your typical agent, if you boil it down to say like a DISC profile, which most people are familiar with?
I think both of them, ID, which is like that outgoing person with a lot of drive, or DI. So either one of those tends to do well in both roles.
Yeah.
I think the ISA tends to be people more that maybe they have young kids or their family schedule. They want the 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And they're also okay being in one spot. So like if you're okay without a ton of variety.
Yeah.
And you can sit in one spot all day, you're going to be more attracted to the ISA
but you
role.
still got to have thick skin.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I had one guy call me a name one day, and I was like, really? I didn't know I was that. And he hung up on me. It's all right. It's all right.
So do you think that they need to have that kind of, the kind of C element to, where it's like, hey, here's the plan. You got to kind of follow the SC part as well, that most agents aren't necessarily great at that piece of that profile.
I do think that can be there, but when I think of the successful ISAs I know, and I want to be careful to say anybody can be successful if their drive is high enough, whatever your wiring is. I think most of them don't have a ton of C. Here's how I think of it. I don't have very much C, which is that analytical, let me follow the rules, let me make sure I'm following the task system in BoomTown. What's the order of things? I don't have any of that. However, I'm very high I and I'm very motivated to be successful. So I'll do it because I know that's what I have to do.
Right.
And the high I loves people.
Right.
So if I want to help this person I just talked to, then I'm going to follow up with them and follow the plan. If your drive is to truly help people, it can pull you through doing tasks that you might not normally love to do because you see the purpose in it.
And whatever that kind of goes for anything, right? You can push through whatever it is, even if you're, you're training for something or whatever it might be.
Right.
Good points.
Well, I mean, let's be real. There's no job that you love everything that you do about it.
Absolutely.
Every job has something about it. So, if I get to talk to people all day and help them accomplish their goal and I got to take some notes in a system somewhere and follow a plan, then, that's what I'm going to do.
So you see all kinds of agents, all kinds of teams, I assume, through the lens of the ISA. Are you working with agents? Are you working with other types of roles at this point? I
am, actually. I coach, so one day a week I coach team owners. Oh. So I think the biggest team I coach has 9 people on it, down to single agent. And I love all the variety. They have all different challenges, so that's fun because it's a lot of variety. And then the rest of the week I coach the ISAs. But quite frankly, even in our ISA program, at the end of the day, it's a lead generation program. So we have a lot of team owners in there that don't have ISAs. And they're like, I just want to get better with lead gen. So
let me ask you this then. I think of ISA as the lead has already come in the door. I'm working it to hand it off. When you say lead gen, I just want to make sure we're on the same page about, I think of lead gen as like I'm outbound calling or generating leads. Are we on the same page there? Or?
Yeah, I think out of laziness, I just lump both together and call it ISA. So a true ISA is inside sales agent. And they're dealing with leads, I think of, that come into the team. Therefore, inside sales agent. So that would be a BoomTown lead, a sign call.
Zillow, whatever.
Yeah. Outbound or outside sales agent, I like to think they're reaching out and calling the unsuspecting. So the expireds, the for sale by owners, the circle calls, the just listed, just sold. And quite frankly, a lot of people, just so you guys know, when you hear the term ISA, a lot of people just lump those two together because it's easier and faster.
Right.
But yeah.
So when you say circle, you mean like your sphere?
Oh, actually, you should call that too.
Okay.
When I say circle, what I mean is picture that, you know, I'm putting my finger down into a neighborhood on a map, and I'm going to circle out around that neighborhood and call the neighbors. So maybe it's a neighborhood that I've been farming through mailers, and I want to become the guy that dominates that neighborhood.
And you have those numbers already?
Yeah, you can get them through several different systems, but yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so there's a difference between circle prospecting and obviously calling your sphere of influence.
Yeah, sphere is way higher return for your time.
Yeah. Indeed. So does the agent need to be calling the sphere, or is the ISA calling the sphere?
I don't think there's one right answer to that. Yeah. I think it's just what I'm really big in people operating and what makes them happy, what's their strength zone. And so if the rainmaker or team owner or the agent has time to call, you know, that, okay, it needs to get called by somebody.
Sure.
But I don't think it has to be the agent. I think it could be the ISA with a good script. So like I used to call Haro's, and I would just say, hey, Haro wanted me to check in on you. He's out running around, yet he cares about you and just wanted me to see how you're doing. Just checking in.
Right.
And that worked really well.
And it makes them feel that, oh, he's out there busy, he's doing business.
Yeah, and really it was kind of brilliant because he was getting more and more out of the business. You know, he's not even really in the day-to-day anymore.
Right.
So what I would do is I would call his sphere and say, hey, just know if you ever needed something and you can't reach Haro, when we hang up, save my number in your phone and just call me anytime you need anything related to your house.
Gotcha.
And then you start saying that at the end of every call, and you're training them anytime you need anything, you call Anna, and I'll help you.
That may even be like, I need an AC repair guy.
Yeah.
Or...
That's one of the value adds, actually, which perplexed me why people got so excited. But I would call and say, I was trying to think of like, what's a free value add I could say. So I was like, hey, if you need anything for your house, like an AC guy or a lawn guy, you know, we know a ton of people that do that because we work in the real estate industry.
Sure.
And I was really surprised how many people just got so excited about that. Yeah? They were like, I never thought about that. You know, like it was the greatest thing.
I think it's one of those things that's often overlooked. You know, people don't think about it. We know about it because we're so deep in the space, but they know tons of people that repair things and do yards and design and all of that stuff. And because they have to, they're staging homes and they're you know, curb appeal and all those kinds of things. So did you get any people did you get calls?
Yeah.
People needing it?
I found that when I first started, it wasn't very many people that on that first call were like, oh yeah, today I need that, or oh yeah, because you just called me and said that, I just realized I need to list my house. But over time, and that's the whole thing, is we have to be consistent with that. Over time, it absolutely, I mean, Gary Keller studied this and found that if you call your sphere at least once a quarter, and then also are doing some marketing pieces, you can expect one sale out of every 6 sphere that you talk to, which is significant. And that was with a lot of data. Yeah. So it's totally worth it, and it'll pay off. But you got
to stick to it.
You have to stick to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your job's, I think one of the hardest things for those of us that like variety, which is a lot of salespeople, is being consistent in just the basics. We like to create, or let me try this idea, or let me try that lead source for 3 months. Where really, if you just picked probably 5 lead sources and you were consistent, that's all you would really need.
Right. And real estate agents are famous for shiny object syndrome and chasing squirrels and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue. Technology is obviously a huge piece of everything nowadays, right? Not just real estate, but you know, you've been involved, obviously, you know, BoomTown, but what other pieces of technology or types of technology are you finding that are kind of indispensable, or that you're seeing people, you know, are really leveraging, you know, to find more success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll speak to the ISA world for a moment here. Well, really probably agents too. I think crucial for an ISA, and I'm shocked how many don't have it, is a headset. Have to have a headset because you're more efficient. You can type or dial while doing other things. And the other thing is a double screen. Okay. Because here's how I used to do this, and it saved me so much time, is maybe a dialer or Vulcan 7 or Mojo on one screen, which is a dialer for expireds and other things.
Yep.
And if I talked to somebody, I wanted to put them in BoomTown. Well, if I had a second screen, I could just copy and paste real quick, slide it into the other screen and move on. Well, before I had 2 screens, that was like a 5-minute ordeal.
Right.
And so you think you start saving all these little pieces of time. So that helped.
And it all starts to add up. Like
It all
the
adds
dialer
up.
takes, what, 10 seconds or so out of every, I mean, you're doing 100 calls versus 10 kind of thing.
Yeah. And here's the cool thing is if you're on a triple dialer,
A triple dialer.
so Mojo, it calls 3 numbers at one time. I know what. You can now, of course, if you have a great conversation, it won't. This might not happen. Yet you can reasonably expect 12 contacts an hour when you're on a triple line dialer. So think about whatever you're getting right now. If you're hand dialing, just add in a triple line dialer, and 12 contacts an hour. I mean,
Wow.
huge return on your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then that becomes, the 12 becomes X amount more of sales, and I mean, it all trickles down, right?
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people miss is it's really a numbers game. When we're
Absolutely.
people oriented, we just think we kind of fly by the seat of our pants, and I'm just going to talk to people today. But when you start tracking, which I did not like doing, Haro made me do it. It was like 6 months of Haro pulling teeth, and then I finally bought in.
To track all your calls.
Yeah, but what you can do when you track is you can start figuring out how many closings have I had over the last 6 months, and how many contacts did I have, and just divide them.
Yeah.
And I started figuring out to hit my big, scary financial goal, which seemed like this big thing that I don't know if I can actually do it. Through tracking, I figured out I just had to talk to 6 people an hour for about 4 hours a day, and I would hit my goal. And that came from tracking.
Did you find that, you know, once you hand it off, that sale isn't dependent upon you anymore?
That was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to hand people over. And what I found that I really appreciate about Haro is he really stuck to the hiring process of Keller Williams, which it's a long process. I probably spent 8 hours with Haro by the time he actually hired me, just making sure it was really good fit. But what that does is it made sure that we had talent on the team. And
Right.
talent wants to be around talent.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, if I was on a team and I was handing over all these appointments and nurturing all the time, and they just couldn't close them, I'm probably not going to stick around.
No.
I wouldn't have stayed. And so it made it easy if they were like, yeah, that one didn't convert. It was easy for me to accept because it's like, well, they're talented, and I know that they laid it all on the line.
Right. It wasn't just slacking or something
Yeah.
like that. With the last 10 years post-crash, you know,
Yeah.
with the millennial generation becoming, you know, taking over the world basically due to sheer numbers. It's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that has changed the concept of what home means in the typical or, you know, kind of traditional American dream of home ownership?
I do think with technology and everything, we're more interested in change and constant, you know, stimulation. And I also think you're exposed more to, you know, 50 years ago, you couldn't hop online and see what other types of houses were out there and think, I like that a little better. So I do think technology can make you want maybe more or change your
A little
home
more aspirational.
Yeah, but I don't know that it changes the desire to have a home. Probably you're going to move more because I'm going to be envious of that house I saw on BoomTown and want that one more than the one I have now.
Right. Teams are taking over the world.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, you're
especially
seeing
expansion
that,
teams.
right? And now there's expansion teams. What do you think of that model? Do you think it's gonna continue to grow?
Yeah, I do. I think the reason why too is a lot of us that are in real estate, you know, I could sit down and make myself do paperwork or work on closing documents. I don't want to.
No.
I could. Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier is I believe in operating in your strengths versus a lot of people focus on how can I get better at what I'm good at or what I'm bad at. I mean, maybe do that sometimes, but what if you instead spent all that energy and developed on what you're good at?
Right.
So that's
got
part
somebody
of
else to do the stuff you're bad at.
Yeah, like, yeah. I heard this analogy one time of what if there was a guy built like a linebacker, and he said, "I want to be a ballerina." Like, okay, maybe you could figure out how to move like a ballerina, but what a waste of your time.
Sure.
Focus on your football skills, and you'd be way further ahead.
That's a good point.
And so I think with expansion teams, you know, if I'm out in some town somewhere and I'm starting a team, it'd be pretty cool to plug into a team that already has the admin people.
Mm-hmm.
They already have the systems figured out. They know all the closing documents, and I can just focus on going out and meeting with people. It seems like I would get further than if I had to focus on stuff I wasn't very good at.
So what do you think about, and we're seeing this, and maybe you are or not, but the people that are you know, new to the industry, and they see like Tim Heyl or Ben Kenny or these, you know, mega agent expansion guys that you know, are killing it, and they're like, oh, I'm going to start an expansion team. I want to go, you know, that's what I'm going to do, you know, and they think that you can just go from zero to expansion, you know, mega agent expansion, and, you know, their mindset seems a little bit of too ambitious, if you will. That they don't realize that maybe took 5 to 10 years to get to that point.
Right.
Do you think some people are misguided in that sense right now because they see that success?
I do. And actually, I was on the phone with Tim recently, and I teased him because our conversation kept being interrupted because he was like, oh, you're doing a great job over there, to whoever was around him in the office, like, oh, you're doing a great job. And when he finally got back on the phone, I teased him, and I was like, you should add like professional encourager to your business card or something. And he laughed. He's like, Anna, that really is like all I do now. He said, people see that, and they see that I just walk around and, you know, I kind of step in and encourage people or talk to my leaders. He's like, but what they don't know is the first 4 years were incredibly boring. Like, I sat and lead generated for 3 hours a day. And if you know Tim, that's not really his personality, is to sit in one spot.
Right.
And I've heard him say, you know, a lot of people see what I'm doing now at my young age, and they just don't see all the work that went into it. Like, he literally used to go, I think it was the janitor's closet, I think.
Yes,
there was some closet. Yeah, like he didn't have an office, and he went into the closet and called for 3 hours a day.
Yes.
You know, so there's a lot of hard work behind what we see. And I don't know Ben personally. I actually would like to meet him. So if you're watching this video at some point, I need to talk to you.
Maybe we can arrange that.
But from hearing his story, it sounds much the same as enormous amounts of hard work.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Years and years.
Yeah, so yes, it's an ambitious goal. I also think people can achieve it if they're truly motivated and that's truly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Just make no mistake, it is not easy.
No.
It is hard.
It's not easy to just have one team in one place.
No.
Or have an admin and a buyer's agent, you know, which is the
Yeah.
smallest team I guess you can have.
Yeah. It's not easy.
So we're wrapping up here. Thank you, Anna, for all of this. We've been chatting. This has been just easy and fun, and you know, I think it's great that you've been a big advocate for us, BoomTown, out there in the world, and I'd like to think that we are a part of your story.
Yeah.
And that Unite is a part of your story, and you know, I think you know, we really appreciate everything you've done for us, and it's cool to be, you know, a part of your journey, and hopefully that's been impactful for you as well. Yeah, hugely. I mean, part of what helped me excel as an ISA is I had the right tool, you know, and BoomTown certainly was a huge part of that. And then even getting into the coaching career, there's a ton of factors, of course, yet I always go back to, it was that BoomTown conference that Haro took me to. That's where would I be, or what would have happened had it not been for that. That's great. That conference. Well, thank you again. Where would we all be without BoomTown? That's right. So thank you, and Anna, they can get in touch with you. This would be a great place if you have questions that you want to mastermind, because there's a 1,000 some people in there. Yep. It's ISA Mastermind Group. Super creative. Hey, I know. Straight and to the point. That's right. Well, thank you again. This has been awesome, and that's a wrap from Charlotte, and we will see you guys again soon. Thanks, guys.